So we are talking about the paper on Wednesday. So again, that growth psychology of growing up. Hopefully, you know the book well enough to be able to make that case and show the events. And like with the others, you're not going to have your notes this time. You can have your book, and you can write in your book. But I don't need pieces of paper. I just meant hopefully naturally you've written in there and have some things, and particularly underline and quotes. Any thoughts about that? We don't need to rediscuss anything. I just want to make sure you understand that's the general area. I'm looking at some questions from the AP. These will be more general questions rather than the ones I gave you for Huckfin. This question or questions, and you only do one, would be more generalized. So they could apply to a lot of books, but we're going to use it for this book. Yes, Becca.
What were the three things that you said? Separation?
Yeah, the first would be separation, and we made that case that from the beginning he was pulling away from other people, and even of course in running he does that ultimately. And what are the things that bring him back to other people? You don't grow in isolation. You don't grow alone. So part of his growth, and don't forget to see that the growth takes place in his unit as well as himself, because it's not just an army of one. It's the whole community there that grow and change. And then that's the separation. The initiation would be those events that begin this process. And then the return is, and of course, in the book when he returns, he's still not, he's lying. He's living a lie. And yet even after that, he sees the change of of Wilson, and then he makes some, another way to look at it is he doesn't ever make a decision. He never decides to go back. He's always debating it, just like he was rationalizing why he ran. And then he's rationalizing why he should or should not go back. And if it weren't for the guy with the rifle at his head, and it wasn't for the cheery soldier, it'd still be one. To this day, it'd still be out there wandering around. So he returned without ever making a conscious choice. It had to be done to him. So we're not going to repeat what we said Friday. I know y'all weren't here, but any other further questions about it? So, as we kind of shift to this, we'll watch 30 minutes. It's an hour and 8 minutes long. That's a short movie. It did appear in a movie theater, so you'd have a long trailers for other movies and things. 1951, the year before I was born. I just got to tell you about the two main actors. First, they claim everything in the book is everything in the movie is from the book. You'll find out at the end that's not completely true, because there's a slightly different ending, nothing radical. It pretty much follows the book, but the main character is Henry, is Audie Murphy, the most decorated soldier. And you're going to look at him, he looks like a kid. And I'm going to show you some pictures later that show him in his uniform. Again, he looks like a little boy. The last guy you would expect to be one of America's greatest war heroes. He wasn't an officer, I don't believe. Maybe he was eventually. But so that's the guy that plays Henry. It's funny because he showed no fear on the battlefield. He won the Congressional Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service. He got more medals than anybody. Of the million soldiers fighting in the Pacific and Atlantic, he received more medals, combat medals than him. And looks like David. He'd been a perfect actor to play David versus Goliath, because this guy, he had to lie to get into the army because he was too young, and then he looked it. The other guy is his friend Wilson, and his name, I think it's, what's his name? You'll see the name, Malden is I can't remember his first name, M-A-L-D-E-N. He's not an actor either. Audie Murphy became an actor and acted in some kind of not great movies. They're cowboy movies and war movies. He was never a superstar. The other guy, Bill Malden, was the most famous journalist of World War II. He actually went, I think, probably Europe, but he was famous for his cartoons. He would draw cartoons, and I think maybe he started out in the Army, but he became famous all over the world for cartoons that he wrote, that he drew about soldiers. And so he's not a professional actor, and Audie Murphy wasn't by trade a professional actor, and yet they're the two main characters. So that, to me, that adds a depth to this. So I'm going to show you, got about 35 minutes. I'm going to show you 1951. Again, by our standards today, it may not be particularly, the battle scenes particularly graphic. They're not graphic at all. But, you know, it was apparently a well-received movie. I don't know how popular it was, but it was well-received. And I just love the story. So here's Red Badger Curry.
Are we only going to watch part of it, or we don't?
No, we just can't, we don't have time today. So we'll watch it Thursday. We'll finish it Thursday.
After the.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would like you to be able to see the end of it.